Hey, it's 7 o'clock on a Tuesday night, and where else would I be but here with you? DJ Stutz here with Imperfect Heroes podcast, as well as Little Hearts Academy USA. And so I just want to talk to you just for a quick second about some things that are coming up. July 25th, mark it on your calendar, and we're going to start a 10-day challenge. And the challenge is to help you figure out how to quit yelling at your kids. Are there days when it just feels like everybody's yelling, nobody's listening, everybody's angry? Well, let's get rid of those. And so I know it's not going to be an overnight thing. It's not something that's just, I'm making a decision to stop. But it takes some things, and I've got all that down for you. So if you want to join in, the launch page will be up in just a couple of days, but you can always just email me or leave a comment on here, and I will get with you and let you know exactly when you can do this, but it's coming up really quick. The date is July 25th, and we're going to have 5 live sessions, and so we're going to help you talk it out and figure out the things that you can do. We have some worksheets that are there to help you track what's going on when you're yelling or when you start feeling anxious and you feel close to yelling. If you can catch it then, awesome, because then you can do some things about it. But we're going to go over all of that. So we'll start on a Monday with a live Tuesday. You've got that day to work on your homework and gather some data on yourself and on your kids. Wednesday, there is a live. Then Thursday, that's your day to work on homework and see what changes you're making. Friday live, and then you're going to have the weekend. We'll have a Monday live and then a Wednesday live the next week. So I hope that you are excited like I am, and it's going to be all great. Today, I wanted to talk to you, of course, about the podcast. And I love this week's podcast. I follow her on Instagram. She brightens my day. I look for her daily reels, and she puts a smile on my face. And I like that. And her name is Amber Wilfahrt, and it's Wilfahrt. I'll go ahead and put those in the comments when we're done. But you can follow her on Instagram, and she is on my podcast that dropped yesterday. And so, hey, Ali. And so we talked about just kind of giving yourself a break. That when you are so stressed out and there's so much going on, and heaven help us, even if you just have one kid, it's easy to get stressed out and moving around so much. And so we're going to give you some breaks, but we're also giving you some ideas on what you can do to kind of smooth things out a little bit. First thing, I want you to remember, just like the podcast, nobody's perfect. Everybody is trying their best, and nobody's perfect. Perfection isn't even attainable. So trying your best is the goal. Now, trying your best at things that are more productive and things that are going to help your family helps a lot. And so we're going to help you find some of those things that can make parenting easier for you. And so one of those things we talked about is maybe make a list. I was a list maker when my kids were younger. I even had a list like Monday, I'm changing the sheets for the boys. And Tuesday, I'm changing sheets for the girls. And Wednesday, I'm doing the bathrooms. And I had it all written down. So then it just became routine for me. And I didn't have to really worry about, I'm getting behind or what's coming up next. And I tried to break it out into small enough chunks so that I didn't feel like I was working all day long on trying to get everything done. If you get it all done in one day, it's turned around awfully quickly, and you've put all that work in and you can feel defeated. But if you're just doing, the sheets for this group or sheets for that group, or you're doing laundry with the towels, and then the next day maybe you're doing light colors or whatever. You get all of that worked out, and so that it's in workable chunks. Then you don't feel overrun. You don't feel like, you're working so hard and it's just a big mess again. You're expecting things to happen in an order. So that's kind of nice to have. Another thing is to prioritize, look at your list, and if things happen, something comes up, and maybe something is at school, or your kid, gets hurt, or a friend needs you. All these things can happen. It's just called life, right? And so when those things happen and you're not going to have time to get everything done that you had planned, prioritize. What is most important? And if most important is being there for your friend, if most important is, going out to lunch with your spouse, or being there for your child at their hockey game, or whatever it is, then you are going to feel like, yes, I got the most important things done. And the list is in such workable chunks that maybe you'll get one thing off of the list and then you can pick it up the next day, because it's not going to add that much on, and you're able to, work through it. Another thing is realize that just because you made a mistake, and maybe you were harsher with your kids than you meant to be, maybe you missed a deadline, or you forgot to send the field trip form in with your kid, whatever. Don't beat yourself up over it, and just realize that mistakes happen, and this is it. And just because you made one mistake, or just because you yelled at your kid, doesn't mean that your whole day was terrible. I had a little guy, and I talk about this on the podcast, but I had a little guy a couple of years ago, and he was on the autism spectrum, and he could be a little exciting from time to time. I had an aide that year who was very negative with the kids, and so he would have a fairly good day, and then he would have a meltdown. And usually, let's think about it, his meltdowns were closer to the end of the day. He was worn out. He was tired, right? And so his meltdowns would last, 10, 15 minutes, and then we'd get things organized, help him calm down, and we got it down to a pretty good science, once you get to know your kid that well. And so we would go to pick up, and this aide would be over talking to the mom. He had a terrible day, and he did this and this, and he did that and that. And all she would talk about is that 15 minutes that was difficult, and then not the rest of the day that actually went pretty well. I had to ask her to quit talking to parents. Please don't talk to them anymore. You're depressing them. And especially when you've got a child that, is on the edge a lot and can have those meltdowns, and it's not really their fault. They're just trying to work through things with the emotions that they have, the brain processing the way that it does. And so let's concentrate on the rest of the day. Several hours of good behavior, 15 minutes, not so good behavior. Give yourself that grace and give your kids that grace. Just because they had a temper tantrum when we were getting out of the car doesn't mean the whole day was a loss. It just means that amount of time was a little difficult, but look at how maybe they got it turned around. Look at how they were doing after. How did they do before? And concentrate on those positive things. Same thing for you. Man, I yelled at my kids. I was late getting dinner on, and I'm rushing around. And so you started yelling at the kids a little bit. Well, that's okay. Don't beat yourself up over it, but then sit down and look at it and say, okay, what can I do better? Why was I yelling at? That's the best question. Why was I feeling like I needed to yell at my kids? Well, maybe it was you were running late. Maybe you were hungry yourself. You had a rough day at work, and you're still processing it, and the kids are jumping all over you, and you just aren't ready for that. Well, let's think now. Okay, now I know why. So what can I do to maybe make it a little better? And maybe it is, even though you're running late, giving the kids a little personal time, just you and them. It's not going to matter if dinner is at 5, 5:30, 6. It's not going to matter. What's going to matter is giving yourself that and giving your kids that time. Maybe if you had a really rough day at work, maybe you need to just sit in the car for 5-10 minutes. Breathe, put on your favorite music, and then get yourself ready to go inside and pick up the kids or go inside the house, whatever it is that you've got going on. And then you're ready for them more. You're getting yourself in the right state of mind. But, we all make mistakes. And as long as we are willing to look at why did it happen, and is there anything that I can do to improve and move forward, then, you're okay. We learn so much more from our failures than we do from our successes. At least that's what they say. And I have found that to be true in my life. So we've got that option available. And sometimes I know for me, I'm making so many decisions all day long, with teaching, with the kids, lesson planning, and then getting things ready at home. And I feel like I, have to make a ton of decisions. And there are times when we get in the car and my husband, Russ, will say, well, where do you want to go to dinner? I'm like, I'm in the car. This is good. Go. I don't care where you go. I am done making decisions. And you might get to that point. And when that happens, it's really good to have some things in place, some strategies, some routines. That's the word I was looking for. Some routines that are there. And so you just really don't have to make those decisions. And now circling back, that's what helped me with when the kids were little, having that list. What am I going to make for dinner today? Oh, it's on the calendar. I went shopping on whatever day, Saturday, and got everything so I know what I'm making for dinner. I don't have to sit and think about it. What is it I'm going to do? You might want to have a few things around that can be for plan B, because if things really go all crazy that day, and, it's like, oh, we were going to do meatloaf, and I don't have time to put meatloaf together. Well, then fine, pull some chicken pot pies out or corn dogs or whatever it is, something that's easy. And then you can just use that again next week. You've got the burger, you've got whatever it is that you need to make the meatloaf. We'll just do it, next time around. And so when you've got these things in place, it really, calms things down, right? And so, I really love that. Amber Wilfahrt, we laughed and joked but we got real about how things are with parenting and how parents can really be hard on themselves when things don't go right, or they feel like my kid's out of control, Okay, well, you can beat yourself up over it, or we can sit down and really look at the whole situation. And so I hope you'll listen to the podcast. It's just fun. Follow Amber. She is fantastic. And then also remember, on July 25th, we've got that challenge starting on at least how to slow down, to minimize the yelling at your kids. And so we'll have the signups for that real quick. And if you're interested, like I said, just leave a comment below, and I'll make sure you get all the information when it's up and ready to go. And it's just going to be fun. It's going to be relaxing, and it's going to be nice. Isn't it nice when you can see someone else is doing the same crazy that you're doing? I know it makes me feel better. And so when we're in a group and we're all talking about, the same kind of issues that we're dealing with, we can all share ideas and what worked and what didn't work and what's causing it. And I have found, because I do private coaching for parents, private parenting coaching, and that's great, and that's a great place to start. But I often find that the group coaching, which is actually cheaper, is a better result because you get that interaction from the other parents. You get those ideas and those frustrations and the successes and the defeats on other parents and you realize, oh, I'm not the only one doing this. Oh, I'm not the only one with a kiddo that's doing X, right? And it's just nice to know that you've got other people that are there with you, supporting you, and then you've got a chance to, collaborate in making progress and having someone to share that with, and celebrate it with, and when things don't work, and then you've got someone to say, yeah, I had a rough day too, or I had this, and you've got someone to pat you on the back, bolster you up, and set you on your way. And it's really nice. I like my group coaching, but if you really prefer the one-on-one, that's available too. If you're interested in either one of those coachings, you can go to www.littleheartsacademyusa.com. I'll put those in the comments below as well. Or like I said, you can just send me a message. You can DM me on Instagram. You can leave a message or just leave a comment here. I'll get back to you. Don't worry, it'll happen. And we'll move forward. And so I hope that you first go listen to Amber and listen to the podcast. It's excellent. And then I'll talk to you next week. So until next week, let's find joy in parenting. See you later. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.